Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some people seem to be aggressive all the time, while others only lash out under specific circumstances? This new study dives deep into the complex world of aggressive personality. Today, we're untangling the different ways people express aggression and exploring if these patterns change when someone's aggression levels are significantly high, like in cases of personality pathology. Imagine the personality of someone who is very aggressive as a building. We know there are different rooms of aggression like anger, violence, or even relational aggression, but does the layout of those rooms change when the building itself is much bigger or more intense? That's the big question this research tackled. For a long time, scientists have tried to measure aggression, and they've come up with tons of different questionnaires. It has been a bit of a mess, with each scale having its own way of looking at aggression. But a recent big study brought some order to this chaos. They crunched the numbers from hundreds of aggression questions and boiled it all down into 6 key factors: relational aggression, angry aggression, violent aggression, retaliatory aggression, intimate aggression, and alcohol aggression. Think of these as the main types of aggressive tendencies. Relational aggression is like social bullying, spreading rumors, or excluding someone. This is your classic angry outburst. This is the serious stuff like physical fights or threats. This is about seeking revenge. This is aggression targeted at someone close. And finally, pretty straightforward, right? But here is the twist. While we know these 6 factors exist, nobody really knew if this structure holds up when people have really high levels of aggression, the kind seen in personality disorders. Does the same 6-room building hold up, or do the rooms get rearranged or new ones appear? To find out, researchers took data from over 1,400 college students. They used a fancy statistical tool called factor mixture modeling. Imagine you have a bunch of people and you want to see if they naturally sort themselves into different groups based on how they answer questions about aggression. Factor mixture modeling is like a super smart way to do that. It looks at how people score across all 6 aggression factors and tries to find distinct groups, or profiles, of people who have similar patterns. It's like looking at a crowd and seeing if you can spot distinct clusters of people based on their shared characteristics. And what they found was pretty cool. They identified 3 main groups of people. One group had high levels of all 6 aggression factors, another had medium levels, and the third had low levels. So, at first glance, it seemed like people just differed in the overall intensity of their aggression. But the real magic happened when they looked deeper. The researchers then examined the structure of aggression within each of these 3 groups. And guess what? For the most part, the same 6 factors were still there. At least conceptually, the relational, angry, violent, retaliatory, intimate, and alcohol aggression factors were still identifiable. However, there was a big exception, the violent aggression factor. It just didn't show up consistently in the different groups, especially in the lower and medium aggression groups. This suggests that when people aren't extremely aggressive, the idea of violent aggression as a distinct standalone trait kind of falls apart. It might be spread out among other factors or just not strongly present. In the groups with higher aggression, factors like relational, intimate, and alcohol aggression became more prominent, meaning they explained more of the overall aggression variation in those individuals. This is a huge finding. In the groups with higher aggression, angry and retaliatory aggression became less important. Think about it for someone who isn't usually aggressive. Anger might be the trigger for an aggressive act. But for someone who is chronically aggressive, they might not need that strong emotional spark of anger. Their aggression might stem from deeper, more ingrained tendencies. Scrothy's findings indicate that any given aspect of aggressiveness may lose its ability to explain and predict variance in other aggressiveness factors among populations who tend towards greater aggressive tendencies. The study also looked at how these different aggression factors related to each other within each group. In the low aggression group, all the aggression factors were pretty tightly linked. This suggests that their aggression tends to be more of a general tendency, perhaps triggered by specific situations like provocation or alcohol. But in the higher aggression groups, these links weakened. This implies that more aggressive individuals have a more specialized or diverse set of aggressive tendencies. It's not just one big blob of aggression, it's more like a toolbox with different specialized tools. Scroll High Aggressiveness Profile saw a shift such that the angry and retaliatory factors each fell 1 rank due to declines in the ability to explain variance in participants' responses. This points to a shift from reactive aggression to more proactive or instrumental aggression in highly aggressive individuals. They might not be lashing out impulsively due to anger. Instead, their aggression might be a more calculated tool to achieve a goal, less dependent on immediate environmental triggers. Scroll the prominence of higher antagonism, especially the sympathy and trust facets thereof. Center when they looked at personality traits, highly aggressive people were characterized by lower agreeableness and conscientiousness, and higher neuroticism. Specifically, the traits of low sympathy and low trust from the agreeableness dimension were particularly stark in the most aggressive group. This strongly suggests that antagonism, that tendency to be tough-minded, skeptical, and unsympathetic, is a core driver for the most aggressive individuals. And here is where the environmental factors like alcohol and intimate relationships come in. Scroll's paradox can be resolved by the finding that these environmental factors became increasingly correlated with those very antagonistic dispositions. Say center, it is not that alcohol or relationship conflict cause aggression in isolation. Instead, in highly aggressive people, these factors become more intertwined with their underlying antagonistic personalities. Alcohol might be sought out because it facilitates their aggression, or conflicts in relationships might be amplified by their inherent lack of empathy. The environment doesn't just trigger aggression. It becomes part of a larger, internally driven aggressive system. Scroll mixture models carve people at statistical joints that may not reflect truly meaningful divisions to center. Now, it is important to remember the limitations. Statistical models like mixture models are tools, and they sometimes create categories where, in reality, things might be more of a smooth spectrum. The researchers acknowledge that their profiles are statistical groupings and might not perfectly represent how aggression is structured in everyone's mind. Scroll's sample was primarily comprised of emerging adult women from a constrained geographical region center. Also, this study was done on college students, mostly women, and from a specific location. So, we can't automatically assume these findings apply to all age groups, genders, or cultures. More research with diverse populations is definitely needed. Scroll me use of the constrained 166 items from Chester and colleagues 2024 instead of the full item pool the study originally collected may have prevented me from detecting meaningful forms of heterogeneity, he center. And finally, they used a specific set of validated aggression items. It is possible that using an even wider range of items might have revealed even more subtle differences. So, what does this all mean for us? This research suggests that while we can identify different types of aggression, the way these types hang together and influence behavior shifts quite a bit when we look at individuals with very high levels of aggression, especially those potentially at risk for personality disorders. For less aggressive individuals, anger and external triggers seem more important. But for those who are chronically aggressive, a core of antagonism, a proactive, rather than purely reactive style of aggression, and a more specialized set of aggressive tendencies seem to be at play. Understanding these shifts could be really important for developing more targeted interventions and treatments for aggressive behavior and personality pathology. It suggests focusing not just on managing anger, but on addressing deeper dispositional traits of antagonism. What are your thoughts on these findings? Do you see these different patterns of aggression in people you know, or even in yourself? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into the fascinating world of psychology. We'll see you next time.